At Norden, we employ AI agents that automate supply chain operations. And this is our webinar series where we talk to AI professionals that introduce AI into enterprises. And as always, we have a special guest with us. And today, this is Stefan Walter. He's a senior VP at MSG Group. I'm also proud to say they're also our partner and our customer, and I'm super excited to having him here. What we're going to focus on today is using AI in procurement, in particular, purchase requisitions that are conveyed over emails. So during this session, Stefan will shortly present their SaaS solution they built for SMEs that really natively integrates with SAP, as well as uses Norden agents in the backend. We're going to also show a demo, how that looks like in everyday's life. And we're going to also shortly talk about the technology or underlying technology like LLMs that is being used as a part of a solution. So we would love to have you as part of this discussion. So feel free to put your comments and your questions on the right-hand side. And we will include your comments and your questions in our discussion right away when we see them. So without a further ado, I'd like to invite Stefan, who I know for a while now, since we partnered together on building the best solutions for enterprises and SMBs. I'm super excited having you here. Stefan, could you please tell us a bit about yourself and your company to start?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. So thanks a lot for having me. So my name is Stefan. I'm from the MSG Group. So if you don't know what MSG is, a German software development and IT integration company. So we have about 11,000 employees with a turnover of 1.3 billion euros and operating internationally. My job as a senior vice president is to develop what we call AI SaaS solutions for our internal use as well for our customers. And for today, I would like to show you a solution which we leverage internally as well as some of our clients in order to really streamline the processing of purchase requisitions. So in order to do so, I will share some slides. Just a second. I hope you can see my screen shortly. Yeah. So it's about streamlining processes for free text purchase requisitions. So what are purchase requisitions? Purchase requisitions are some kind of item or element before a purchase order can actually be created. So a purchase requisition is normally done by a decentral department and is very often combined with some kind of free text descriptions. So if you are, for instance, in the manufacturing industry, this is quite often done electronically through EDI. But if you are more in a public or more an academic environment where you don't have clear material numbers, very often some kind of goods need to be purchased not on a clear material number or out of a catalog, but just described as free text. And this creates what we see later on quite a lot of manual work and hassle during the process. So normally these kind of purchase requisitions are not part of a catalog, what I said, and they are very often be purchased from different suppliers. So you don't have a typical standard supplier. So very often you need to identify first which kind of supplier can actually work for that specific good and is able to actually deliver that kind of good in the necessary quality and time. So this kind of manual effort is with the purchase with the requester as well as with the purchasing department. So just think about what we see later in the demo. You would like to purchase some kind of office material, or you would like to purchase some kind of laptops. So these typical C articles you would like to purchase. So they are somehow sent by an email or described as free text what you actually would like to do. Sometimes you have a supplier at hand. but the requester, like myself, I need to tell the purchasing department what I actually would like to achieve. So the manual effort is quite high, especially when you are in a conversation with a purchasing department, because the purchasing department, it just cannot process these purchase requisitions because there is not a standard article behind or a standard supplier behind. So you are in some kind of discussion between the requester and the purchasing department to identify the right partner, the right supplier, so which at the end calls quite a lot of work. For the purchasing department, it especially means that you first of all need to make sure that you have all kind of information for the procurement object, for instance, for the desk or the laptop and so on and so forth. You need to identify potential suppliers. Of course, you have a certain quality assurance and compliance metrics, which kind of supplier may work and which not. Yeah, then you need to actually talk to these suppliers. You need to get a quote. Yeah, you need to take account specific supplier attributes. For instance, of course, in Germany, yeah, a supplier which is actually not really selling to Russia at this point of time. Yeah? And then you need to get all this kind of information. You need to talk to the supplier. You need actually to get a quote, and then you need to order and make the decision, and actually then have a chat with the requester to see if everything is going fine to make the final decision. So the question is, how can AI help to minimize this effort and really reduce this kind of time from weeks to days? Because normally when we just talk about a typical processing process like this, it may take 3-4 weeks actually to get everything together at the end and make sure that everything is compliant. So what we are talking about together with Nordoon is to have a solution which, as I said, which we use internally. We call it semantic bridge. And this kind of solution, it takes unstructured data with these free text purchase requisitions, for instance, coming through a mail or for some kind of internal storage locations. We take this data, but not just actually extracting information out of this different text elements, but we structure it in a way that, for instance, SAP can further on process it. So not just a typical large language model approach or AI agent approach, which takes the data. We are additionally enriching it with supplier information, and we normalize it or harmonize it in a so-called vocabulary, so that, for instance, in SAP, automatically a purchase order can be created. So by doing so, we, in our internal belief and our internal usage, we achieve a process efficiency gain about 90% just by using this kind of technology. So how is it normally working? So we use, I said, different kind of input channels for this data. We actually have it running in the AWS cloud. As Tom said, we are using the combination with Nordoon AI agents, and we make sure that within seconds, let's say within minutes, this kind of solution can be deployed in the cloud infrastructure of the customer and our MSG customers or other external customers through the AWS marketplace. And typically, we connect it to SAP S/4HANA cloud systems because, as you may know, it's not really easy when you're in a public cloud to make additional extension development for SAP S/4HANA cloud. So you always need to make a more complex integration scenario with the SAP Business Technology Platform. And we do that out of the box at this point. And this makes it really convenient for our MSG group members. So actually deploying it within a minute, no separate installation required at customer side directly, especially on-prem, and we charge our internal units based on a consumption, for instance, by processing these kind of purchasing requisitions.
Mm-hmm. So maybe a quick question here before we jump to a demo. So yeah. For instance, just to understand, so you mostly work now with SAP, right? So you mentioned SAP HANA Cloud, S4 HANA. Is it possible also maybe for like some SMEs that also might have different ERPs?
Of course, definitely. Yeah, we have some units which are using Microsoft Dynamics or more the Microsoft approach. to work with it, or any other kind of SME type of ERP system. But normally about 70-80%, I would say, of our clients are using SAP.
SAP, yeah, okay.
This is the typical case.
Great.
So just to show you a little demo, I will actually send an email, which I have here. Send this to a dedicated email address. So what we see here is, as you can see, an email with a free text descriptions. Need just to update. Let's say we update the date here. So we have several desks, really desks I would like to purchase. We have some kind of trend office chairs with roller cabinets. We need 3 laptops with 3-year warranty, 2 monitors, 2 Visual Studio Pro licenses, and so on and so forth. Yeah? Including an assembly service for a large shelf. But you can see here any kind of material numbers, nothing really precise, specific. So very generic descriptions what I actually need. So this information is sent to Semantic Bridge, and then, of course, processed by Nodoo. So I wait a few seconds. Then I guess I will see a response coming from Semantic Bridge.
So maybe we can just discuss how this is already a result. Okay, that was quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, so what's happening in the background, like really on a high level? So what are the steps that, what kind of processes are happening in the background?
Good point. In the background, it actually takes this simple text. Yeah, it's extracting the information from this email. Yeah, it actually structures it in a way so that it, for instance, know which kind of element needs to be purchased. So we are actually classifying this element, but this is just the first piece. Yeah? The more complex piece is then to actually map it or match it to the necessary fields and master data which are in the customer's SAP system, in this case an MSG SAP system, because otherwise it cannot be processed. Yeah, because SAP will just block it. So we actually map it to that, which is a quite, let's say, significant piece. Additionally, we are adding, or we are searching for potential suppliers which are able then to deliver this.
Okay, so the first step would be, if I understand correctly, so first to try to find a match within the existing suppliers that are in SAP, and also if that's not available, looking outside.
Exactly. We search globally, and here what we see is that it returns this information in the email, and it will actually bring it into a consistent structure in a dashboard, which I will show you just in a second. But as for the ease of use and for the ease of understanding, you see here that there is an attachment, a JSON document. I will just open it. So my Visual Studio is coming up. So, and what we see, for instance, here, with this described element, information, and additionally vendors like labstore.c, where for any kind of information, this kind of information is then visualized in an UI. Just a second. Here in the UI, with all this kind of information, actually including so when you pick it, this element is then actually asked for a quote at these suppliers for these 349. Okay, we have office desks here, and then once this is then done, it's automatically creating then a purchase order in SAP. So for the purchasing department, it's extremely easy to get access to this information. It bridges the gap between this unstructured process, this manual process, and takes all the data in the right high quality into SAP, so that the official purchasing process then runs in SAP, which is then the standard core process. Yeah. At the end, everything needs to go through SAP. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the ERP is always at the heart of the company, right? And there, the kind of the only truth should be always there.
Even if it's a free text, a free text purchase requisition. Nice overview, and then sending it into SAP. So this is bringing up the, let's say, this efficiency increase. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Stefan, for presenting the demo.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, so maybe as a next step, we can have a closer look at also technology that's enabling that business process and that business value, right? So maybe real quick, I can share the screen as well. Okay. Okay. So let me share the screen.
No.
Okay. No. Okay, some technical difficulties. Okay, see my screen? Right away. Here we go. I'll make it. So position on the business logic. Comments that comes through unstructured email data, shape formats, and using LLMs that are kind of popular that we have on a pair. So process. Other uses where you can use AI agents to process supply that come purchase order maintenance. So on the other side of the up. Stefan said it happens after the PO is issued. We CPU dynamics, as Stefan mentioned. Reconciliation or when we against the POs again as well as the PO maintenance. Invoice reconciliation. Also, warranty claim is big. We have with our so feel to read tutorials and of the technology, basically structuring processes and in and Hello, I'm back. I hope that this time is better. I'm really sorry for the technical difficulties. Stefan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. I can see myself. I'm so sorry. So, this is we are in AI era, but we have problems with trivial things like internet. So good luck us. I'm so sorry about that technical difficulties. We'll make sure to improve that part as we go down the line.
But maybe, Tom, you can just repeat the last slides you showed, because
sure.
People didn't really get your slides. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so it says, okay, Jessica, thank you so much. It's much better now. Yeah, so let me share my screen again. Okay. So can you hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Stefan.
It has a much better quality, to be honest.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. So again for me, but first time for you. I'll try to explain how AI agents can be used for processing unstructured data, and by that structuring also processes, like Stefan mentioned. So if we take a closer look on what's happening in the background when it comes to populating purchase requests that come like an email. So usually our first step is to define the fields. That is, the business side of the company would define the fields that they need to populate in order to get this process going in SAP. And then we ask AI agent to find this relevant data and populate these fields. For instance, that for purchase requisition, what's happening in the background when it comes to populating purchase requests that come. Okay. Is to define the fields. That is, the business side of the company would define the fields. I'm sorry, but there's some problem, I guess. I was hearing myself. Sorry about that. This is
no problem.
Okay. So how it goes about is basically then when the unstructured email data comes in, that means it can be free text, can be PDFs, Excel files, all, let's say, in different formats, languages. So basically what we apply is latest technologies like pre-trained LLMs, also more advanced solutions that are context-driven and can enrich validated data and provide higher accuracy. And at the end, basically the result is that these fields that we required from AI agent are populated based on information that was contained in email. That, of course, has a really wide applications in enterprise environments, in manufacturing, logistic companies, wholesaler companies, where, for instance, we help to process demand forecasts for our customers, where they come in through emails. So we're talking here about non-EDI communication. So everything that comes through emails that we can process and then structure push to the ERP. Same for order processing, for instance, when the POs comes in, or just a simple text saying, hey, we are ordering the same thing as last time. Please confirm if you can deliver on June 2nd. And based on the processing, we can open the sales order automatically in the ERP. And then moving to the other side of the company, so means procurement. So where we have purchase order maintenance, basically everything what happens after the PO was issued. So after the process that Stefan nicely explained, where we have possibility to track all the communication between the buyer and vendor. So that means if they're like, we have a breakdown of delivered quantities, we have delays, we have open orders, down to delivery notes, and of course that kind of concludes with invoice reconciliation. And the beauty of this is when you're automating that first, let's say, part, so PO maintenance, you don't deal with exceptions with invoice reconciliation anymore. You're basically dealing with a system that was already established. So the invoice reconciliation goes smooth and without stops in the workflows, especially introducing that what we have in the older cases. It's agnostic of the shape, format, language. So whatever invoice that we get in, we don't need to train per invoice, per customer. It's basically taking whatever invoice and it's able to put it into a structure for the reconciliation, map it against SAP, resolving, also asking additional questions either internally or also to the vendors if something doesn't match. At the end, also including human in the loop. And maybe the final use case that is super interesting for logistic companies, like trucking companies, they're heavy on assets, where we are able to also process repair invoices and increase cost revenue for companies. That means that we are able to figure out, so AI agent is able to figure out by itself whether this is warrantable or not, and based on the decision, also automatically file for returns of the funds that were used to repair the trucks. So that is a quick overview of what technology enables in enterprise environment. So feel free to jump on a free trial or have a look at the tutorials that are available on YouTube. You can also reach out to us and ask for like a very more, let's say, tailored demo that will work with better internet connection, not like this one. So thank you so much for sticking by for this one. I'll stop the presentation here. We had some comments which are more or less related to the bad internet quality. So thank you so much. If there are some questions regarding the purchase requisitions or use of technologies like LLMs, AI agents in procurement or in supply chain in general, happy to answer those. In the meantime, Stefan and I are planning also a follow-on webinar, right, Stefan? And this is more on the topic for what? Maybe you can share this.
Yeah, actually, we are planning to make another webinar around a similar business issue, unstructured document structures, structuring these kind of documents. It's actually for the insurance industry and for especially about fraud detection of damage claims. For instance,
sounds interesting.
Is there a technology available really to make a fraud detection with a high precision for instance, for wrong damage reports coming from car accidents? And we are doing this multimodal in a way, for instance, that there are going to be images which are processed and recognized items or attributes, characteristics in certain images. And we are comparing this then with unstructured data. And this is what we're going to show you in the next webinar.
Sounds great. So maybe it's worth saying, just to explain shortly, why insurance industry, and how does that relate to MSG? Maybe for the audience, if they don't know MSG that much.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sam. Yeah, the insurance industry is one of our biggest industries. So we are actually providing dedicated insurance, let's say, insurance systems, yeah, insurance ERP systems. But on the other hand, we're doing quite a lot of software development, especially in the cloud and AI area for insurances. So this is some kind of one of our core topics we are dealing with.
Okay, thank you so much, Stefan, to put some light on that. So I think since there are no questions, I think there is no point of taking this longer. I would like to thank you first, Stefan, for taking time and participating in this webinar. And also thank you all for coming and for contributing, listening, and staying with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot from my side. See you next time. Thank you.
See you next time.